Welcome to Voices for Impact, the podcast. Started during the COVID-19 pandemic and made in Syracuse, Voices for Impact is full of conversations with thought leaders from around the world that have made significant accomplishments in their lives and have gone through their own challenges, but have made it through those adversities and made positive impacts through their work. I'm your host, Danielle Mensing, and as a fundraiser for a nonprofit, I believe the most valuable tool you can give yourself is making a positive impact on others and your community. Every conversation is going to give you tools and tactics from entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, and change makers that will encourage you to develop a growth mindset and reimagine how you can find your purpose. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome to Voices for Impact. My name is Danielle Mensing, founder of Voices for Impact, and today I am chatting with Eve Vanderwall. Eve is the regional president of Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield for the Mohawk Valley North Country region. She has more than 35 years of extensive and diverse experience in healthcare delivery and health insurance. Prior to joining Excellus, she enjoyed a successful career in critical care and coronary care nursing. She is a member of the board of directors of numerous community organizations, and she strongly supports Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield's mission of providing access to high quality and affordable health care, making a difference and improving the quality of life in our community. So thank you so much for having a conversation with me today, Eve.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Now, in a recent article, you spoke about nature and stress management and how nature is good for stress management. Could you tell me more about how you enjoy the benefits of nature and some advice you might have for others?
Sure. My first advice would be try it, because I wouldn't really consider myself an outdoorsy nature type person until we bought a camp about 5 years ago. And I think that's where it really pivoted for me. Because again, just being outside, even if you're just sitting there and watching the water and the ducks in the water, it's automatically a stress reliever. I mean, just the peace and quiet, like at 6 a.m., that's usually when I like to sit on the dock or go for a walk. And you could just really hear the nature around you. And without realizing it, it really brings the stress level down.
I can definitely relate to that, especially working from home recently in the past several months. There was probably a couple weeks within that time I was at home just day in and day out, not even getting outside. And I could tell my mindset was not as positive as I would have liked it to be, but just that one walk around the block or step out in nature, how much of a difference that made.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you don't have to be athletic. It doesn't have to mean that you have to run a marathon. You can walk a short walk, go through. There's so many trails, and not just in Old Forge, all over. State parks, kayaking, Bald Mountain. There's so many different avenues in different levels activity that you can do. So when people say, oh, no, I'm not the athletic type, I'm like, nope, not buying it. Because if you can walk, then you can enjoy the outdoors. In the winter, a couple of years ago, we tried snowshoeing. Oh. And again, I tell people, if you can walk, you can snowshoe. Like I tried cross-country skiing, and you really have to think with cross-country skiing if there's hills going up and down. But with snowshoeing, you really don't. I mean, you can really see a lot of nature. And again, you don't realize how beautiful every season is. Mm-hmm. So take advantage of it.
And we have such a beautiful landscape in New York State. We're very lucky to
really are.
Just go up north into the Adirondacks. So how many mountains in the Adirondacks have you climbed?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I would say probably we've done obviously Bald Mountain. I mean, I've done that. We've been coming up here since I was a child. Black Bear Mountain. Then there's a couple lakes we hike around that are more level terrain, like Mountain Lake and Moose River. There's just a lot of different trails. But the real, I'm not a 46 or all these, people are trying to do all these peaks and stuff.
Right.
A leisurely hike type person. And I'll tell you a quick funny story. So one of the mountains, I don't think it's Black Bear, but there's another one near there. And there's one way up 2 ways up, 2 ways down. We're like, well, let's take one up and take another one down. This is my husband and I. So we're coming down, and all of a sudden it's like 90-degree shale. I mean, like straight down. So we're like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? So like, we're turning around backwards, sliding down. And so we're going down, and we see some, I say kids, they're my kids' ages, like in their late 20s, early 30s. We're coming, and they're coming up, and they're like, oh my God, for you guys for doing this. And we're like, no, this was strictly an error. An error. Now we're stuck. Now we can't go either way. So we're kind of like taking our time getting down. But I mean, we got down, and it took us a long time. And we kind of did feel like, whoa, that was triumphant, but I would never do it again.
No, yeah. I've made some errors like that on some hiking trips as well, but you just have to hope that you can make it down the mountain, which you did. That's so funny. Now, going back to your career and your position as a regional president, where did you envision yourself when you were in your 20s and 30s, where you would see your career going? Did you envision yourself going that route?
Never. I mean, I really thought I would be a bedside nurse forever. I mean, I was a critical care nurse, loved every aspect of it because you take care of the whole patient and the family. So I really enjoyed. But early in my career, I got punched by a patient who actually broke my jaw. I was actually a state patient. Didn't, all fairness to him, he was 80-something years old, didn't know what he was doing. And I went to check his pupils, and he came up with his fist, and he just caught me. Kind of joke about it because, again, that was in the early 80s, and I was on the night shift, and they couldn't get anyone to relieve me. So I worked with a broken jaw until the morning shift. I'm like, that would never happen today.
No. Oh my gosh. Well, you're a tough cookie.
But what happened was, over time, I just really couldn't lift. Like, I had multiple surgeries on my jaw. So believe it or not, I was going to become a math teacher. So I was enrolled, ready to go back, get my master's and become a math teacher. And I was approached by one of our key cardiologists in the area. And he said, we're thinking of opening a big lab. Would you come and run our lab and do the testing and stuff for us? So I shifted over there for a couple of years, great experience. And then the opportunity came up at Blue Cross. So I actually came into Blue Cross in 1998 as a frontline staff nurse doing audit and review. Wow. I meet with every new employee, and I tell them, you could be sitting where I'm sitting. Just be prepared when the opportunity comes. And I will say, Excellus is, not because I work there and not to sound Pollyanna, but they are such a wonderful company to work for. I'm going on 22 years. They for both of my masters. They really believe in education. They believe in promoting from within. So, I've had so many opportunities. I was corporate for a while. I had different positions on the medical side, whether it was case management, med policy, and then an opportunity came up to come back to the region. Because for a while I was corporate, meaning I had staff in Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and Utica. Then an opportunity came back to come back to Utica and work for the previous regional president. And I was born and raised in Utica. So to me, it was like, oh, this is great. And it was a community position to be out there in the community. And then, as a little bit of luck, and I'm a firm believer in timing is everything. She retired, and I became the regional president in 1998. And it's just the best job in the world.
What is a day in a life like for you?
Well, no 2 days are the same. So the Utica region covers 14 counties. So we have 2 satellite offices in Plattsburgh and in Watertown. And really the North Country, the 6 northern counties that I cover, it's really rural healthcare. And we actually have 2 different strategies, one in the Mohawk Valley and then one up in the North Country. Because again, they drive an hour to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
So, I work with our sales leadership team and our sales team and the network management team. I'm the point person for the region. I work with the elected officials. We have regional advisory board. Obviously, the face in the Utica building when we were in the building, because we have 400 employees. We're all working from home now. It's a little, for me, it's not in my DNA because, again, I'm so community focused.
Right.
I will say it's just showing up differently, just like we are now, right? We're not sitting across the table. We still continue to sponsor events, and they will do a video and post it. Actually, one of our not-for-profits, ACR, which you may be familiar with, they actually had it was called Hike for Life, and it was one of their really fun, big fundraisers. And this was the first time sponsoring it, and then it became virtual. So they put a video of me out there, and we actually got a team together, and Excellus came in second, even virtually. We're pretty excited about that. So I just think it's a different way of thinking of things. Again, that's our mission, really. We're a not-for-profit, so giving back to the community is such a big focus of ours. And for me, like I said, born and raised, my family owns a big, large independent pharmacy in the area. So my dad was always in business, so we were always out in the community. Mm-hmm. To me, to have a job like I do, it's not really a job. Yeah. It's just a great, great opportunity for me.
Now, what do you think are the skills or characteristics that you have that have helped you get to the position you are in now and helped you achieve your goals?
I will tell you, I'm a firm believer is, being a leader, you can lead from where you are. It's not about the title. I'm definitely not a title person. But I will say one of the big things that I think benefited me is really having the exposure and the networking within Excellus across the Thruway. And I just think, just act like you are, whether you're in work, outside of work. I pride myself on being open, honest, and ethical, and treat others like you would want to be treated. Because if you do that, it can't go wrong. Mm-hmm. I never ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And I think another aspect is listening. I learned so much. I mean, I mentor quite a few people across the Thruway, and I will tell you, I think I learn more from them than they do from me. I mean, we just have such great people working in our company, and everyone brings something different to the table. So I'm learning every day.
So continuous learning is one thing that people should continue to do, is not just say, hey, I've learned enough, stop here, but continuously engaging with people and learning.
Absolutely. And, we're fortunate again, we have a training center that we do a lot of virtual training. And we actually call it, like, instead of the Thruway, we call it the Blue Way, because we're down the Thruway. But Excellus, they are really good at giving us the tools to do our job. And to do that, you have to be willing to learn, because I don't think anyone in any role knows everything. Mm-hmm. And, if you think you do, you're not going to go far. I mean, look at even this virtual world, even the Zooms and the Skypes I will tell you, I knew nothing before we got into this. I'm not, like, when you were talking about social media, I'm like, okay, no, that's corporate communication. That's their bailiwick. But again, this has forced me to kind of get out of your comfort zone. And I think that's when you learn the best, is if you're willing to take that risk. That's the other thing. There's no way you're going to move up the ladder or, further your career if you're not willing to take a risk. And I would say, just go with the flow. I mean, Excellus is a big company. We reorganize in some ways, so you may shift who you report to. At the end of the day, I always say it doesn't matter. I work for the company. Mm-hmm. So, and I will do what they need me to do, where they need me to do it to make the company successful. Because it's not about me. I'm like one of many team approach. So I guess that would be another area that I would say is always think of what you could be doing for somebody else, mm-hmm. and you could be doing for yourself. Because in the end, you're really going to grow and you're going to benefit yourself without even knowing about it.
What are the skills that you look for in a leader, and what makes a good leader in your opinion?
I would say, it's interesting because, I look back in my career and who have been my bosses. And I will say I learned from the not so good ones just as much as I have from the good ones. So when you ask me that question, it kind of makes me reflect on what did I learn from the good leaders and the not so good, because I think that's also a lesson. And my thing is, listen to people. I really believe that if you listen and not talk, you're going to be farther ahead. And in my role, I do walk when we're in the buildings, I do walk the floors. And I will tell you, I learn more from walking the floors from our frontline people who have their boots to the ground, and our customer service folks work so hard. And I go and sit on the phones and listen to what they have to do day in and day out. And they're amazing. I mean, they are truly amazing. So I would say, as a leader, be open, be willing to learn, sit alongside of people that are not at your level
Mhm.
or within your functional area, and you will broaden your horizon. And to me, I think that again, listening and being willing to learn, and also take constructive criticism from anybody. I mean, it doesn't have to be my boss. I'll take it from anybody. I say to the people that I mentor, if I'm doing anything to make you uncomfortable, or if I'm pushing you too hard, or if I'm asking you to do something unreasonable, let me know. I'm not a mind reader. So, because again, I'm learning all the time too. And, my style, I'm pretty straightforward and upfront, and people know that about me. Be careful what you ask me, because I'm going to tell you my opinion, not what you want to hear. I mean, but that's just who I am.
Right.
People have to understand that, but you also have to do it professional. I mean, you can't just say, I believe in telling the truth and I'm going to tell you like it is. You have to be sensitive and professional.
Eve, right now I'm getting my MBA actually at Utica College online, and a lot of the themes you're talking about in regards to leadership sounds like transformational leadership, and you sound like a transformational leader. You listen to anybody within your organization. You're there on the ground floor listening to people, and I think that in turn allows them to feel more part of the mission and part of that they have a value and they're being heard by upper level management as far as what their needs are and what their thoughts are, and I think then also they become more invested in the company as well. So those are all great things.
Yeah. Thank you. And I appreciate that. And I will tell you though, it starts at the top of our company. Our CEO, Chris Booth, is just as transparent and down to earth as they come. And he has his senior team, they're all like that. They have open access. They have people can email them. We're not about hierarchy that you go to your direct report. If you have a question or you have something that we should be doing that you see that we should be doing differently and you're on the front lines, let us know, because again, you are on the front lines. We're not. So how could we make our company better? But I will say, we started a cultural journey, probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I think our success in working from home is directly related to our cultural shift. And again, it's the CEO starting that, because if you don't see your leaders living, we call it the lifetime way, living the way you speak positive to people, be open and transparent. It's important, but you have to see leadership doing it and not just saying it, but they live it. And it's his whole senior team that he has that philosophy, and it's really amazing to see.
What resources have helped you along your journey?
I read a lot. I mean, when I say read, industry read a lot to see what's going on, not only in the insurance business, but maybe it's the nursing in me. I like to know what's going on the medical front. And I like to know what's going on the pharmacy front, because again, when you're out meeting with hospital CEOs and employer groups and you have these conversations, it's nice to know what's coming down the pike. And I also think too, with the cost of healthcare, it's important to know what's driving those costs. So, I'm always looking to learn and what's coming off patent as far as drugs. And maybe that's the family pharmacy side that makes me interested in that. But I'm really, healthcare is ever changing. So, and it interests me. So to me, when I say I read, it's not because I feel I have to, it's something I'm interested in. So I do it just because for my pleasure, and it also helps me for work.
Now, also, what do you wish you would have known when you started out?
Started out as a bedside nurse or started out at Excellus?
I would say maybe started out as your first year as regional president.
I love going to work every day. I enjoy it. Like I'm getting better at this work from home, but I'll tell you, it's really, to me, it's really, it's tough because I like being out there. I sit on 5 different board of directors. We have our board meetings virtual now, but it's not the same as that face-to-face, catching up before a meeting. How are your kids doing? Like I'm a personal type person. And even employees, I would get, they would text me and say, where you been? And then I'd walk downstairs. I miss that piece of it. But I do have a lot of fun with it. I really do. And no 2 days are the same, which I really like. And I'm part of so many different cross-functional areas, and I'm involved with them across the company. So, I really can't say. It's more than, I knew it would be a fun, very rewarding job, but I think it's even more so. And even knowing what we're doing as a company during this pandemic, what we're doing to help not only our members, our providers, but our community as a whole. So, we're doing a lot of stuff to be able to say, we're here from you. This is what we're about. We live here, we work here. And to me, it kind of coincides with my DNA on the personal side. So it's kind of like morphed. Even in my personal life, when I'm out in the community on a personal thing, people say, oh, aren't you Eve from Blue Cross? And I don't know, that just makes me proud. I'm like, yes, that's me, So, and I don't care if they ask me work questions, because that's who I am. And I always tease, doctors would tease me that I worked with when I was a critical care nurse, and they would say, oh my gosh, you've gone to the dark side. I can't believe you've actually gone to the dark side. And I say, no, actually, you call them patients, we call them members. We're really caring for the same population. So, that kind of thing, pause, and like, oh, you always had an answer for everything. But it's true, right? We're just, I'm serving them in a different capacity than I did when I was a bedside nurse.
Yeah. But you're still helping people at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And health insurance is so complicated. So it really doesn't bother me if somebody stops me in a grocery store and asks a question, or do you know who I can call for this? And they'll give me that information.
And my last question is, how do you define success?
Wow. I guess maybe I'm going in the future to look back, but to me, down the line, when I'm retired and I'm sitting back reflecting on my career, this is from a career perspective success, if I could look back and just say that the company, what I did for the company in my role made the company even a little bit better than when I got in that role, I'll be thrilled. I'll be happy. I'll be happy.
I like that. That's a good answer. Thank you so much for having a conversation with me today, Eve. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the insights you gave and the advice, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And check out Voices for Impact on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I'll see you next time on Voices for Impact.